Hi everybody! Sorry for being so late with this last MvM Class tutorial, but I've taken different routes and type of videos for this channel lately and forgot to execute the very last tutorial needed to finish and clean up the series. So, finally, today we are going to discuss about a Pyro in MvM. This is a fairly well debated class, and every now and then Valve introduces some nifty changes that screw every suggestion and way of operating the class. A couple of years ago, in fact, they badly nerfed the Phlogistinator. Before then, its charge was refilled by damaging a tank in really no time, just a couple of seconds. It was way too OP. Then that change was needed, in fact. Another example just recently. Valve has reverted back knockback of the score shot against giants. By doing so, though, they nerfed badly any air blast of the flamethrower against giants. Even after max air blast upgrade in place, the only slightly airbastable giants remain the super scouts, and only with a lot of air blast upgrade under your belt. That's changed a lot of things when you start considering what is now the role of your Pyro class. If 1 month ago someone could have said Pyro is a godsend to reset back the bomb by launching giants in pits, well, that's pretty changed. He no longer can have this feature. Maybe that still works for small robots, but small robots bringing the bomb start to be uncommon in advanced missions or harder. And if I may say my 2 words, good riddance, because the air blasting Pyro was a thing that was needed in less than competent teams, where the damage totalized by the team as a whole was insufficient to kill robots before they got to the edge. This way a bomb resetter could be viable, but in the truth, a killing and damaging Pyro is better than an air blast oriented Pyro. That was true before, and now it's even more. So far, what's the role of the Pyro then? In lower level missions, like easy, intermediates and some missions of advanced tool, you can still see its role as being a helper at resetting the bomb, or stopping super scouts and such. But as the level hardens, you must realize that using a Pyro has other primary roles. It's the class that requires the less money to achieve the max damage toward tanks. You would be pretty stupid not using a Pyro in missions like Broken Parts, where a single Pyro can take care of a single tank until it gets till the hatch. Rest of the team could stop the horde inside the cave. I am not saying the Pyro is the most damaging class for the tanks in the game. You would be surprised how good can be a scout with a shortstop, or other primaries like the soda popper, max upgraded. You know what? They are costly to achieve that. You need to crank up reload, clips, damage, a lot of things. And they are all against your main role. The scout shouldn't care for primary since the beginning, at least if he is the only one in the team. You should care of your primary only when you start swimming in the money, with your speed, jump, milk resistances all already well defined and such. On the Pyro instead, the same upgrades you need to damaging robots applies toward the tank. And you really need just one, damage, and ammo if you think to solo tanks and not losing time running around for ammo boxes. The second role is being the close quarter damage dealer. But remember, you are not a bazooka soldier, you are not a heavy with all their HP. You shall need to learn how to flank, catch out of guard the robots, especially the giants. Learn how to not take their aggro, being their target locked. It reminds me being a spy a bit, but the spy can disguise and cloak, while you can't. On the other hand, your damage is continuous and spread all over the place. You inflict damage to a lot of robots in a mob, and that's good, especially with the right primary. Before I forget, if you are a good Pyro in stock TF2, well, just forget all you have learned there for MvM. Sadly, it doesn't work that way. Combos, extinguishing people, crit flare punching, no way. You are going to put all your cash in 2 single tabs. Your primary and yourself, for speed, resistances and everything that allows you to survive that close to your enemy. So, 90 damage crit flare, 195 crit extinguisher, useless. You'll soon be able to dish a lot more damage per second with your primary, with increase in damage, your ability to properly flank them, and use a crit charged backburner or a phlogistonator. In the end, WM1 for the win! But a flanking WM1, dudes. In the Demo Knight tutorial, I compared it to the Pyro. The most notable differences between them is that Demo can dish a lot of damage on a single target at a time, while the Pyro can flood the whole mob with fire. Still, in a level of difficulty, I'd put the Pyro, the Spy and the Demo Knight pretty high ceiling, because all of them need to learn how to avoid being the only member of the red team getting aggro, and be able to escape without being killed continuously. That's why, once the Shield of the Medic was offered in the 2 Cities update 2 years ago, many start switching from the Pyro to the Medic. Medic is a good protector with its shield for the team that stays in medium to long range. The fact that half the missions of that tour were without tanks rendered it even harder to save the presence of the Pyro in a team. What the 2 Cities veterans have lost, though, is that things that may apply to 2 cities aren't always applicable to other tours. Even today, a tank damage disher like the Pyro is a no-brainer for missions in big rock maps. Now that we have talked about the Pyro role, let's see what are the best weapons that suit this role, ranking from the best to the viables. Let's talk about the primaries. You'll soon discover that the MvM Pyro only useful weapon is his primary. No need to spend much at choosing secondaries and melees. And the best primaries for the Pyro may be a couple. The recommended by me is the Phlogistonator. It gives you a chance to get all your HP back with just a press of a button, after the meter is filled up of course, and then unleash a strong critical hit damage for 8 seconds. That's perfect for solo tanks. After the nerf of some years ago, you better raise the meter engulfing robots in flames against damaging the tank. For example, in Hamlet Hostility Last Wave, it's perfect to burn the first mobs of robots to have the charged meter when first tank spawns. The inability to air blast isn't that bad, considering how few you should air blast in a good team, and given the recent nerf the air blast effect took. Another viable choice is the back burner. The back burner can be handy for some maps, was help you flank and stay hidden at robots dropping point, like Rothenburg or Manhattan or Manworks. By raising your ammo later on, you will even be able to air blast if you really need. But the most precious buff for the back burner is that you always critical hit damage when you can get the back of your enemies. That's pretty important versus giants and giant medics. As soon as the mission has more giants than tanks, it starts being preferable to keep the back burner instead of the Phlogistonator. Back burner in fact is inadequate for tanks compared to the Flog, because their back is immune to crits. But being able to non-stopping crit giants at their back is kinda nice. The only problem is that they aggro you in no time and turn around. That's where resistances and speed upgrades will do the difference, as you shall learn how to circle strafe around them. Third choice is Stock. It's the favorite for the guys who love to air blast, but I've told you already, that's been nerfed pretty badly for giants. I would go with the other two, as your teammates can't body block a Super Scout and definitely need you buy all air blast upgrades and hope to stun it enough to them to kill. It's definitely recommended only for bad teammates. And no, forget about the degreaser. You won't be a combo killer like you are in stock TF2, hence the switching speed is totally useless. You won't keep it for MvM. Ever. Now time to speak about the perfect pairs with the primaries, especially the Phlogistonator and its meter. Anything that engulfs in flames helps rise the meter, thus the shotguns aren't a good choice. The better should be the secondaries which flame a multitude of enemies at once, speeding up the meter charge, those being the score shot or the new detonator. The score shot is easier because you just barely aim to the mobs and everything catches on fire, helping your flog meter. With the detonator, you need to right-click to explode the projectile in air. Only this way you reach the splash needed to have more than one enemy on fire. Flare gun isn't really recommended because of the single target in fire at a time, but still better than the shotguns. Speaking of melee, anyone will be good. Generally, roaming with a home wrecker can be better if you see your Engie having bad moments against spies. You can save the nest when he's dead. Else, the power jack and its speed up utility is the best thing to choose from. In case of strange team composition without an engineer and medic, you should consider the back scratcher, as you won't lose anything by it, and will have more HP back from packs. Don't think that crit canteen plus 3rd degree can be viable. Canteens are wastes, and you really can't depend on buying much to destroy those pesky Octo heavies. It may be fun for once, but I definitely wouldn't call the 3rd degree Pyro a viable medic picker class at all. There are other 5 people in the team for that reason, to defeat the medics with their better arsenal. I'm speaking of demomen, snipers, spies, whatever. There isn't much to be said for other secondaries and melees. About the upgrades, as I told you, first of all, you, a close quarter class, need to survive your attack. Nobody wants to see a Pyro rushing the mob, being defeated, and buy back in no time. You must survive. Hence you need to invest in the following. HP on kill of the flamethrower. Since it can give you overheal, it's the best sustainable upgrade. Start with 1 point and decrease progressively until a good 2, 3. Resistances, depending on the wave, blast, bullet, critical resist, are mandatory. Crank up enough to survive at close range each wave. And run speed, that's crucial for circle strafing with the back burner or the phlogistonator or whatever. It's important to escape the fire of the enemy. After you see you can survive enough, or you know that you'll be pretty alone and solo tanking in the back lines, you start upgrading your primary for damaging. Note that the only viable damage upgrade is the upper left damage box. That's the direct damage inflicted when the stream of fire particles collide with the enemy. After burn damage is entirely another thing. It's the damage of each tick for burning enemies afar. Well, the after burn damage upgrade is totally useless. If you are surprised or being kicked at wave 1, it's because maybe people have inspected your upgrades and discovered you bought burn damage upgrades. Don't even consider that. So to recap, Primaries upgrades are just HP on kill, damage, and ammo when you know you'll solo tank in the backlines. Everything else is useless. Air Blast Force is acceptable for bad teams if you are the only source to reset the bomb. It may be more viable in easy missions where the majority of bomb carriers are small robots, easily pushable into pits, lower floors, and so on. But you should start learning how to kill robots instead of pushing. Then, besides some scarce canteens usage, I don't see any other upgrade worth saying. Sure, if you have a lot of money, you can go for HP regen, jump height, and such things. Even reload of your score shot. It was pretty damn useful at first gunmetal update. Now, its knockback is lower than expected, so I would avoid putting money on secondaries and melees if you consider yourself an MvM veteran. So, with this tutorial, we are ending the series. Every class has been debunked. In the meantime, something has changed. The Tomislav, for example, has become more viable for medium range harassment. The shortstop has been buffed for the more money healing and such. So some things I have said in the past could be different with an eye of today. Still, I do hope I've given you a panorama, what you need to be ready for Mann-Up Arena, and hope you won't be kicked because of silly mistakes that many people do in the attempt to reuse stock vanilla TF2 habits into MvM and losing. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.